What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. My name is UnrealEntGaming, and joining me here today on this very special roundtable podcast is the creator of Dragon Ball New Age, the one and only Malik, everybody. This guy was the guy that brought you Rigor, the guy that brought you all of the awesome stuff from Dragon Ball New Age, and joining me here today is Malik. Malik, welcome to the roundtable podcast, my friend.
Glad to be here, man.
All right, now it's an honor to have you on here because you already know this. I am a huge fan of Dragon Ball New Age, and for many of you out there watching this who saw my Chapter Zero review, my Rigor versus Gogeta review, this is the guy that created all of that. This is the guy that created all of the epicness that you guys have seen and more. I mean, you guys have yet to even just see what this guy has created yet. I mean, literally. So Malik, thank you for being here. I want to know, like, I want you to let the fans know, like, your overall synopsis on Dragon Ball New Age. For those of you out there who don't know what it is, I want you to explain to the people what Dragon Ball New Age is all about for those people who don't really know anything about it.
No problem, man. I started Dragon Ball New Age probably like the first draft I did was around 2000, 2001, and I really didn't even start getting into it until 2002. But in 2005, I started printing what might be considered the current draft of DBNA. After a lot of rewrites, the current version of Dragon Ball New Age is set in an alternate timeline 3 years after the defeat of Omega Shenron. Um, but as I explained in the prologue page of Chapter Zero, I really didn't like the way the Dragon Ball GT anime really mucked up the continuity. The Toei animation is really notorious for a lot of continuity snarls and just generally mucking up the manga canon. So I rewrote Dragon Ball GT to fit manga canon, so there was none of the villains are able to keep their bodies in hell. They're not escaping hell.
Right.
So the whole Super 17 saga had to be rewritten. And then basically the rest of the show was pretty much the same up until the ending of Dragon Ball GT, in which instead of leaving with Shenron, Goku simply dies of his wounds after the battle with Omega Shenron. This story, Dragon Ball New Age, takes place 3 years after that, and like I said, it follows manga canon. So characters that people might know from the anime, like Broly, Cooler, Harudegarn, Hachiyak, guys like that, and even Tarbell. Guys like that don't exist in the Dragon Ball New Age timeline. If you want to know who exists in the New Age timeline, you really have to look at only the manga. And if you want to know who's still in there from GT, you have to read Chapter Zero and have at least a little bit of knowledge of what happened in GT.
Absolutely. I mean, I think one thing that many fans want to know right now is, how does Dragon Ball New Age correlate with the coming of Beerus and Whis? Like, how does that fit in Dragon Ball New Age?
Dragon Ball New Age, because Akira Toriyama did pretty much declare that Battle of Gods was canon to the original story. Dragon Ball New Age does take Battle of Gods into consideration. Battle of Gods is canon to the story of Dragon Ball New Age. But a lot like Salazar from Dragon Ball Multiverse, I operate under the pretense. It's a simple rule for Dragon Ball New Age that everything except the original manga can be changed. There are little things that can be altered. So even though Battle of Gods is canon, I still made a few little alterations to it. Like one of the big alterations was that uh, the Super Saiyan God power that Goku, quote unquote, absorbs. He doesn't retain that. After a while, it gradually fades from his body, and he reverts back to his regular power. The other thing that was altered, it's a minor alteration, is that there was no mention of Tarbell because, as I said, I consider Tarbell a non-canon character.
Right, right.
So Battle of Gods is canon to it, and even though it hasn't been referenced in the story yet, I've told you, and I will go on and do a little spoiler for people because a lot of people ask, they constantly come to me and they're like, well, who would win in a fight between Rigor and Beerus? Is Beerus stronger than rigor and all this stuff, and I will tell you and I'll tell the
And
people.
before you get into that, real quick, explain to the people who Rigger is for those of you out there who don't know, or who haven't actually seen the Gogeta versus Rigger review. Explain to the people who Rigger is, what he's all about, and then you can go on into
All
Beerus
right.
versus Rigger.
Um, Rigor is Vegeta's half brother. He's not his full brother. They do have the same father. King Vegeta was Rigor's father, and he is Vegeta's father. However, Rigor and Vegeta both have different mothers, whereas Vegeta's mother was the queen of the Saiyans. Rigor's mother, Pepra, was an elite Saiyan who served under King Vegeta. It was one of his personal elites. And Rigger is the legendary Saiyan of Dragon Ball New Age. He is the embodiment of rage. He is genetically different from any other Saiyan. He accesses Super Saiyan transformations much more quickly. His transformations are far more powerful than a regular Saiyan. His aura is different, and thus far, he is the only Saiyan in Dragon Ball New Age who has ever reached Super Saiyan 5. Which, for Dragon Ball New Age, Super Saiyan 5 is the cutoff. There is not going to be Super Saiyan 6, 7, blah, 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 blah,
Be all
because.
end all of all transformations, sort of say. All right, so
Right.
I want to know your synopsis on power levels because I know we spoke about this and I was very intrigued. Now, for those people who don't know the difference between a full-powered Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta as opposed to fighting off a full-power Super Saiyan 5 Rigger, explain that because a lot of people after watching that little battle were questioning themselves, saying, "Hey, that makes no sense. You know, why would Gogeta, who is a fusion of two very powerful Super Saiyan 4s, lose to this one Saiyan who's just only a Super Saiyan 5? And how was it that he survived that final attack?" Now, I want you to break down the power level sequences for each character because I feel like people want to know where Rigger stands in between Goku, Gogeta, Beerus, Whis, and whatnot.
No problem. As a lot of people may know or may not know, shortly after Battle of Gods was released, Akira Toriyama did an interview where they asked him to rank in terms of power Super Saiyan God Goku at the time of Battle of Gods, Beerus, and Whis. In those particular rankings, Super Saiyan God Goku was ranked a 6, Beerus was ranked a 10, and Whis was ranked a 15. Uh, I have about 12 people that over the years I've been working on, having work with me to determine uh, pretty standardized power levels, stuff that was relatively reasonable. Because when I first did power levels, Rigger in his base form, in his suppressed base form, was vastly more powerful than Omega Shenron. But as time has gone by, I really dialed back his power. So going by the rankings that Akira Toriyama did, and the power level multipliers and so on and such forth of the other characters, going by those, Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta in DBNA, if you were going to rank them in comparison to, like, say, Super Saiyan God Goku, who's ranked a 6, Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta rank less than 1. They're a fraction of 1.
That means that Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Goku guys cannot even come close to
Yeah.
Rigger's base form, which is kind of
Well,
which is
that's
kind of like mind-boggling. It's like, wow, dude, like
well, in comparison, Rigger in his max form base, would for me, I had him ranked at about standardized power level of about 15 trillion. He ranks about a 1.8, which I rounded up to 2. So even Rigger's base maximum power level doesn't even come close to Super Saiyan God Goku, and it really doesn't even come close to Beerus. So for my continuity, I do consider Beerus and Whis vastly more powerful than even Omega Shenron, who I only rank a 4.
right.
Uh, but by comparison, if Rigger goes to Super Saiyan 5, just by the power multipliers, it's simple mathematics, he ranks a 27. So he's almost twice as strong as Whis, and that's before his power level even starts increasing. Now, Gogeta, the way we figured out his power levels and stuff, during the GT era, he would have ranked a 12, so he's slightly more powerful than Beerus, but slightly less more powerful than Whis. By the time Dragon Ball New Age comes along, he's ranked a 24, so his power has roughly doubled since Dragon Ball GT.
Wow.
But again, his maximum power level is still below Rigger's maximum power level in his, in his prime.
So if you had to pretty much break down the top guys, like in terms of power level and just raw supremacy, what you're trying to say is that Rigger hails as the most hands down powerful character within the entire series, correct?
Though, well, the way I've broken it down, and this is going to most likely stay true throughout the remainder of Dragon Ball New Age, Rigger will be the most powerful, non fused mortal being in the entire universe. He's the pure embodiment of rage. He is the legend.
Well, there you guys have it. I mean, literally, Rigger hails above Whis, Bills, Gogeta, Goku. I mean, what about let's say for example, what about if somehow you introduced Vegito, right? Let's say Vegito comes back, and I mean, a lot of people often debate with that. Oh well, Gogeta is less more powerful than Vegito, of course. Now, what if by some weird coincidence, Vegito made a return, and obviously, given the fact that we only see him in his Super Saiyan 1 form and his base form, what if somehow he was able to obtain Super Saiyan 3 or 4 status? How would Vegito at that stage be able to fare up against Gogeta? Rigger, excuse me. Do you think that he would have an overall better chance than any other character, or do you think that there's another character that probably comes a very close second, if not second, in comparison to standing a chance against Rigger?
Well, like fans do say they believe that Vegito is more powerful than Gogeta. I do follow that, and like I said, the people that I have working with me to determine the power levels for these characters, we also had to determine multipliers and stuff for fusion, for Patara earring
It's a lot of
fusion.
math, man.
Yeah, oh, it was a lot. I believe if I'm not mistaken, I believe with those 12 people, it took us, I want to say, just shy of 4 months to come up with solid numbers. So, I don't want anybody to think that I just sat down and came up with the power levels and stuff for these characters just off the top of my head. We did a ton of research in all of Dragon Ball lore. We went through the Daizenshus, we went through the comics. If need be, we use the anime to make reference points and such to try and determine, what would be a halfway decent power level and how to, do the multipliers. So
Right.
when we determined the fusion dance, we determined that, for a regular fusion, for, Metamorph fusion, it was power A plus power B times 5. However, in the case of Goku and Vegeta being rivals, it's power A plus power P times 50. So, the regular fusion is 10 times more powerful than Goku and Vegeta, or 10 times more powerful for Goku and Vegeta than a regular one because they're rivals. They're always looking to outdo each other.
Absolutely.
Now, that also goes for Patara Earring Fusion, where it's power A times 100 for the normal one, and then you divide the multiplier by the difference in power levels. Now, there's no difference between the power levels in Goku and Vegeta, so they also get that rivalry boost in which I thought it's power A times 1,000. So you got to look at, it's basically taking Goku's power and then multiplying it by 1,000, and then that's Vegito's base power level.
So as a creator, where do you, in your personal opinion, right? Like seeing this through the eyes of a fan, do you think that if Vegito was somehow introduced, given the same platform as you did with Gogeta, would he stand a better chance against Rigger? Why or why not?
Uh, I believe it would have been much like it appeared in the comic. Now, in the
Ah,
comic, Rigger was, he was dominated by Gogeta in the early moments of the fight. For the first 5 minutes of the fight, Rigger had a hard time holding his own, but as his chi started to increase, the fight slowly turned into his favor. Now, Vegito, he's sort of like reminds me of GT Gogeta.
Really?
He's serious, but he played around a lot. I know it was strategic, but it seems like he toys around with his opponent a little too much. If he went all out from the start, I think Vegito could have beaten Rigger regardless of how powerful Rigger was. But if he allows the fight to drag on, if he gave Rigger ample enough time, Rigger would eventually overpower even him.
So you're saying only if Vegito took the fight absolutely serious, only then would he be able to win?
In my opinion,
That
I haven't sat down and tried to come up with a scenario for Vegito versus Rigger
which would be
because
very interesting because a lot of people after watching that series, well, that I reviewed, a lot of people were like, well, what if it was Vegeta? I mean, I even questioned it. I was like, wow, I
right.
mean, if that happened, imagine Vegito. Now I want to go back into that. Now after reviewing both Chapter Zero and Gogeta versus Rigger, there are a lot of haters, of course. Now I've read a lot of stuff, and me as a person, I'm very happy that I'm supporting this because after all, guys, remember the last couple of years, Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball as a whole has been increasing a lot. I mean, this year we've been getting so many Dragon Ball newses and just updates and video games, and now we have a movie and whatnot. So Dragon Ball Z is slowly starting to come about as being a popular franchise again. It's being brought back from the grave, I would say. And I feel like Dragon Ball New Age is such a refreshing thing. Now, a lot of people were talking about how Dragon Ball New Age is just a GT ripoff, and I remember reading some comments where some people said Rigger makes no sense, and then some people were saying that he looked like Raditz and whatnot, and how stupid. I want to know your thoughts on the people that pretty much hate on your series for whatever case may be. It could be the fact that it's a quote unquote ripoff of GT, or maybe you're changing your story. I want to know like your full thoughts on the haters because I personally don't understand. I mean, obviously you can't please everybody, but
Right.
if you had to like just sum up your own opinion for people who just won't be willing to give your series a chance, what would that be?
Well, regardless of what I do, it doesn't matter what I do with the series. There's always going to be somebody who either doesn't like it a little or doesn't like it a lot. Believe me, I've had my share of people who have voiced their opinion that they
Right.
don't like my series at all. Uh, most of the hate that I seem to receive becomes because the series comes after GT.
Right.
People
Right.
remember the disaster that the anime of GT was after the Baby Saga because it really, if you look at it, the Baby Saga wasn't that bad. It was everything after that that was just really, really messed up.
Well,
Which is
feel
why
I feel like they should have never made Goku a kid. Don't you think so?
oh yeah,
I think
that was a step in
that
the
butchered
wrong
the entire
direction.
series.
Yeah, it was that was basically where it all started going downhill. But you know, it's like I said, I'm not going to be able to please everybody. I'm doing what I've been doing this for 9 years, and I'm doing what I thought would be cool. And there are people who say that it's a GT ripoff. There's people who say that my sagas are nothing but rehashes of old sagas. The Rigger Raditz comparison is actually warranted because Rigger was inspired partially by Raditz. He was inspired partially by Broly, and it's I created him back before we even knew who Tarble was. Tarble didn't even exist when I first created Rigger, so there's a lot of comparisons and parallels to other characters, and it's the same way with a lot of my the original characters for Dragon Ball New Age. They draw comparisons to other characters, but that's because a lot of those parallels were made to be intentional. Riggers weren't really that intentional, but like there's a lot of parallels between Elijah and Majin Buu. Well, there's supposed to be. There's a lot of parallels between Frost and Frieza.
And for
There's
those of you out
supposed
there
to
who
be.
don't know who Elijah is, I'm just gonna give you a small little spoiler because I really want you guys to check it out. He is, what was it, the grandfather of Majin Buu?
Oh no,
The
he's
father.
basically the father
The
of Majin
father.
Buu. He created Majin Buu eons ago.
So just in case you guys wondered who this character is, imagine, rewatching the Majin Buu saga, the Super Buu saga, the Kid Buu saga, just seeing that villain in action. Now just imagine if that villain had a father. That's where this character comes in. And I really cannot wait to review it because what's his skin complexion? He's black and white, or is he like black and
No, Elijah. He doesn't have the pink, like that gumball pink color that Majin Buu has. His skin is like it's like a deep pink, almost a purple kind of color, and he doesn't have like those the earbuds like Majin Buu had. He has like the pointed ears like the Supreme Kai has. He's
Oh,
got
like Piccolo sort of, or
yeah, like
all right.
Piccolo's ears. He's got those pointy ears and with four golden hoop earrings in it, and there's significance to those hoop earrings. And he has black markings on his body. I won't go into a whole lot, but what I can say is that the Elan Saga really takes a lot from Battle of Gods. It really goes into the divine hierarchy of the universe and explains where Elijah fits and at why towards the when we start getting towards the end of the series, why Elijah is such a threat and why he is so powerful.
Awesome. That is something that I cannot wait to read. I mean, obviously, I started off. I never really knew about Dragon Ball New Age until I was reading a little bit of Multiverse. Now, I was never too big on fan made stuff after AF because some things from AF just did not make any sense. And reading some of
Well,
Multiverse and whatnot, it
just so
was
I can cut you off just really quick, if
yeah.
people want to say that my series is a GT ripoff, they need to really look at both of those AF series because if there was any more of a GT
Oh,
ripoff, it
absolutely.
would be those two. I mean, they're resurrecting old villains and using
Yes,
GT
yes.
plot
I remember they
points.
had a Nightmare Broly and stuff. I mean, they had some cool concepts with adult Gotenks and Super Saiyan 4 Gohan, but nevertheless, it drew me off a little bit because the only thing I was really interested in was Zycor. Now, which leads into the bigger question: Zycor versus Rigger. I mean, we all fucking
Oh
want to
my
see it. That
God.
that shit is like, all right. Honestly, the reason why I think this would be like the grandest fight is because number one, you have Rigger, who's this supreme being that's able to just do so much, and his power level just increases, just like with momentum. Whereas opposed to Zycor, he's a half god, half Saiyan, half Kai. I mean, he's a half Kaioshin for God's sakes. I mean, we saw how he fared up against Super Saiyan 5 Goku and whatnot. Now we don't know how AF's Goku would do against New Age's Rigger. That's a little debatable, I guess you could say, because of power
Right.
levels and whatnot. But I think, as a fan speaking, we all want to see Zycor versus Rigger. Now, uh, my question to you is: number one, is there any possibility that we will ever see Zycor versus Rigger? And number two, if those two were to battle, in your honest opinion, who do you think would win at the end of the day? Like towards once the dust settles, once the smoke clears, who do you think would be the one walking out?
Well, at first, I totally agree with you. A lot of people consider that the ultimate showdown between Dragon Ball fan characters.
Absolutely,
When I started off this series, I never dreamed about getting as far with Dragon Ball New Age as I did,
and
and
that's why we're here to help you.
people
I mean, I am.
immediately started drawing comparisons, between Rigger and Zycor, and like I mean, people have even suggested that I try to get Death Battle, Screw Attack's Death Battle to try and do a comparison and a fight between them. People have made game mods where it's Super Saiyan 5 Rigger versus Zycor and Rigger fusing into this monstrously powerful being whose
Yeah, I
beam
saw
attacks
that. It was
warp
in
reality.
Budokai, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw that.
so it's I do I don't like to break anybody's heart, but Zycor is an AF character and he's not a New Age character. Unlike Absalon and a couple of other series, I don't take characters from other series to put them into my series. I wanted to make something that was all my own. That's not to say that maybe at some point I could do a little offshoot where, the dimensional fabric rips and all of a sudden Rigger is face to face with Zycor and it's the ultimate showdown and they finally get it on with all of their powers. But, the main reason I haven't done it is because right now we don't know the extent of Zycor's power. If you go simply by feats, like comparing who they fought and who were they fighting against and how they fared, a lot of people say that Rigger would win because he fought Super Saiyan 4s who were more powerful. He fought Vegeta and Goku and dominated them, whereas he had trouble against Vegeta, Gohan, and Trunks, where Zycor did. And, Rigger stood toe to toe with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, who a lot of people consider more powerful than Super Saiyan 5 Goku, where Zykor apparently gets his ass handed to him by Super Saiyan 5 Goku. But it's like I said, we won't know until we have a more definitive, definition of what Zykor is capable of. Uh,
Absolutely.
so, if you want my honest opinion, uh, in the long run, if Zykor could hold out against Rigger, because in his prime, he's only got about a half hour of using Super Saiyan 5 before it burns out. If he can hold out for that half hour, Zykor might take it. But if Rigger just, you know, goes full power and can do what he can, I think he could take it. So it can swing either way.
I mean, that was something that I've been wanting to do for so long, and I'm actually trying. I'm trying my best to find a mod pack for Dragon Ball Mugen, so I can go on ahead and do that. Because just comparing both characters, I mean, the ability to access Super Saiyan 5, the ability to just dominate all of these, powerful characters and whatnot, and that's one reason why. And I'm very happy that so many of my friends and my subscribers have been, checking your stuff out and liking it and whatnot, because I feel like I don't know, guys. I mean, this may just be me, but I just feel like this can actually go somewhere. And it's like I've been telling you guys for years now. I mean, if we continue to spread something, it's eventually going to catch on and it's going to turn into something special. I mean, with Battle of Gods, I remember I was on the plateau of just anywhere you looked on Battle of Gods, I was the first one to talk about it, and just my videos were everywhere, just going viral. And I feel like we as the fans, we as the people, we got that memo out like, hey, listen, we want it, we demand it. I mean, if there's money to be made off it, I mean, take our money and whatnot. If even if that means supporting the series, and just look at it now. I mean, we have it in Mexico, Spain, we have it in the Netherlands, we have it coming to the U.S. And I'm not trying to say that that's just my influence; it's everybody's influence. Now, with the support that I hope goes toward New Age. Uh, my question is later on down the road, right? Like when you're completely finished with this series, is there any possibility of you introducing your own version of possibly a Super Saiyan God form that goes beyond that of a Super Saiyan 5, having it to be the very pinnacle of just Saiyan supremacy in terms of all forms, all categories? Like you have Super Saiyans 1 through 5, which 5 can be known as like the legendary level. And of course, you have one more level beyond that that only one person or two people might access. Like, is there any way that you will ever introduce one more level that only a very selected character may obtain, that being Super Saiyan God, after you're done or before you're done with the actual series?
Um, well, like I said earlier, that I do consider Battle of Gods canon to Dragon Ball New Age. So that does mean that Super Saiyan God does exist. Um, and a lot of people asked, well, what would have happened if Goku had went Super Saiyan God, during the fight with Rigger? Couldn't Goku have just one-shotted Rigger and fought him on his own? Uh, so Super Saiyan God does exist, and if Goku had gone Super Saiyan God, I hate to break it to people, but just by power levels alone, he still would have been beaten. The time limit would have ran out. It would have been a battle of time limits at that point because Rigger would steadily get more powerful, and a lot of people seem to think that like God, Super Saiyan God has like an unlimited level of chi. We don't know that for sure. We don't know all the ins and outs of Super Saiyan God just yet, but we'll just entertain the thought that Super Saiyan God has unlimited chi. So it's unlimited chi versus ever growing chi, and one has a short time limit where one can have maybe a little bit longer time limit. So it's a battle of time limits at that point. So, but the thing with Super Saiyan God is, even though it's canon to my series, I felt like I'm just very very underwhelmed by Super Saiyan God. It was supposed to be something awe-inspiring. When I think,
Yes.
a god form, it was supposed to be something that took my breath away. And
Exactly. I don't know
what
if you saw. I don't. Did you see the concept art of like the golden Super Saiyan 4 looking character?
Well, that was yeah. I did a Battle of Gods review on my YouTube channel, and one of the things that I stated was, even though the current design of Super Saiyan God wasn't terrible, I preferred that particular version of the fan
Yeah.
version of
Same
Super
here.
Saiyan God better. And I was looking through the production notes for Dragon Ball Battle of Gods and saw that the original concept for Super Saiyan God was that he would be muscular and had a hairstyle between Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan 4, which, a lot of people know my Super Saiyan 5 as having, huge bulging muscles and then that black and gold hairdo, but Super Saiyan 5 is actually getting a makeover and it's borrowing a lot from that original concept of Super Saiyan God. They get bulkier muscles and their hairstyle becomes the combination of Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan 4. It's long, golden Super Saiyan 4 hair, and they have the Super Saiyan 4 fur on their body. But Rigger, in his case, he gets the long hair, but instead of having the deep crimson red fur like Goku or Vegeta would have, his fur is black. So he still retains his color palette. It's just a different look. Uh, but it's like I said, I don't currently have any plans to reintroduce Super Saiyan God to Dragon Ball New Age.
Okay. Um, by any chance, right? Let's say you do. Um, where would you rank a Super Saiyan 4 Goku from Dragon Ball New Age as opposed to a Super Saiyan God Goku from Dragon Ball New Age? If you had to just pair them off, like which one do you think would stand above the other in terms of power level and in terms of like overall durability? Like which Goku would you think would be the most standout Goku? I mean, would you make it to where Goku from a Super Saiyan 4 format would be much more powerful or vice versa?
Well, one of the things that I did do with Super Saiyan God, even though I'm underwhelmed by the looks, I recognize that it's a God form. So it had, in my mind, Super Saiyan God had to be the most powerful version of a Super Saiyan that you could get. Now, uh, we'll just go by straight numbers. The unascended Super Saiyan 4 that we see Goku and Vegeta have at the beginning of New Age and throughout GT, that's the first stage of Super Saiyan. There's two more after that until you get to true Super Saiyan 4. Now, regular Super Saiyan 4 only grants its user a 4,000 times boost. So it boosts their base form by 4,000. That's pretty hefty. But then you compare it to what we came up with for Super Saiyan God. Super Saiyan God, in our opinion, boosts the user's base power level by 500,000. So, by simple mathematics, a Super Saiyan base God Goku from Dragon Ball New Age would mop the floor with Super Saiyan 4 New Age Goku.
Awesome. And what about like possibly introducing like let's say for example you did have that. What if what if Rigger happened to have a rematch against God Gogeta? How would you think that would fare off, especially with the multiplier being in effect?
Oh boy.
I mean,
Well,
because
you got
like,
to take
trust me, there's a lot of people that want to like. I mean, they like sometimes it's like a craving, right? You get something and it's so fucking good, you just want to see more, and then you start thinking, it's like, well, what the fuck? Well, I mean, what do you think would happen if this happened or that happened? So,
right.
like like just I after doing the reviews, I never expected to see the comments and the views that I saw, and I was just like, so many people are just talking about, well, what if Rigger encountered a god, or what if Rigger encountered Vegito or Whis or Beerus or possibly the other gods from the other universes, which that made no sense to me because somebody said that, and I was like, well, we don't really know who they are or what they possess. But what I wanted to ask you was Elijah and Rigger, right? If they were to do battle, I mean, obviously they're both very different. Um, do you think that he would be able to somehow absorb Rigger? Like, does he have like those abilities that Majin Buu has, or is he like an entire character, like as a whole? And like in terms of overall, who's like the most? Because we all right in Dragon Ball Z we have the common villains. We have Cell, Frieza, Buu.
Right.
We all know their characteristics. One being a madman, one being a very confident creator. So how would Elijah stand up against like Rigger? I mean, not in terms of like, well, yeah, battle, but in terms of like, ranking in your little villain division. Like, how would they fare up in villains? Like, would Rigger stand out to be the number one villain, or would there be like a villain that is far above Rigger?
Now, well, let me ask your question with another one. Are we
Okay.
talking about Elijah as he's currently in the story, or are we talking about Elijah at his peak, in his true form and his true power?
Okay. Well, since we already know what Rigger can do, I would say Elijah at his peak.
Okay. Uh, well, this is going to be a little spoilery for people, but it's nothing that they can't read in the Dragon Ball fan and wikia about Dragon Ball New Age. Elijah is one of four beings called the Aspect Lords. They are the gods of all gods. They are the ones who created all 12 Dragon Ball universes. And Elijah, being the Aspect Lord of darkness, evil, chaos, and negativity, he's the one who created the void of space, the blackness of space. When you look out into the sky, Elijah is responsible for that. He's responsible for evil, nightmares, and he's not the representation of them. He is them. They all come from him. And because these aspect lords, they not only govern all those 12 universes, but they have to govern over the timelines of all those universes. They're omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. They know everything, they see everything, and they're more powerful than anything. They're the parents of every god in the Dragon Ball universe. And if I was going to rank Elijah with the other beings in in my rank, in that small number ranking scale, the aspect lords can't even be ranked. There is no number that can be put to how powerful they are.
Wow.
If
So if Rigger
it
were to do battle with Elijah, and you're trying to tell me that Elijah is that great?
Yeah,
Oh shit.
if you were to, well, let's put it this way. You could take all 12 gods of destruction and all 12 of their attendants, the guys that Whis are, and pit them against one aspect lord, and that one aspect lord could beat all of them.
That is so awesome. I mean, not to give away any spoilers, but is there any chance that we're gonna see all of these aspect lords in the series?
Uh, all of the aspect lords are slated to appear in the rest of the Elan Saga. Right now, Elijah is way, way, way weaker than he normally would be. He's bound in a human body right now. I won't say which body it is because, well, actually, I will say what body it is because this is another thing that gets a lot of hate. He's in Vegeta's body. He's taken over Vegeta's body.
Okay, now why Vegeta?
Uh, well, this goes back to what I originally saw of the Majin Buu saga when I was first getting into Dragon Ball. Now,
Right.
when I first got into Dragon Ball, I didn't have access to the internet. I did,
Yeah. Well,
so I
welcome on the
didn't
same
know.
boat, my friend.
Right, so when I first saw like pictures of Majin Vegeta and I heard about the Majin Buu saga, the first thing that went through my head was, well, Majin Buu's possessing Vegeta. And then I found out everything that was, yeah, I found out the story as it went the right way. But then I kept that idea. I'm like, well, wouldn't that be kind of interesting if this evil being was inside of Vegeta? What if that Majin character was in Vegeta and it wasn't just, he's under mind control, which I argue all the time. He really wasn't under anybody's control. He allowed Bibbidi to unlock his power, but every time Bibbidi ordered him to do something, he didn't do anything. He always, went up against Bobbity's orders and said, "Nah, screw you. I'm gonna do what the hell I want, and you're not gonna stop me." So he can't really be, in my opinion, he can't be considered controlled because they had no control over him. Uh, so if you want my honest opinion, Vegeta's only been possessed once in the whole series, and that was by Baby.
Mm.
Uh, but Elijah, as the story has progressed, he's been bouncing from body to body, just looking for more powerful bodies to get into. And when he landed on Earth, the first strong body he came up against was Vegeta.
Yep.
And the reason why Vegeta has been getting a lot of attention in Dragon Ball New Age was because even before Akira Toriyama said that he would like Vegeta to get a little bit more attention to
Yes,
possibly even be the main
especially when they asked him
character.
about the next movie, they said he wanted him to be like the main protagonist.
That's a thing that a lot of people they misquote. Everybody misquotes saying, "Oh, well, there is going to be Battle of Gods 2 and Vegeta is going to be the main character." Akira Toriyama was quoted as saying, "If there was another movie, I would like there to be more focus on Vegeta and possibly for him to be the main character."
Now, what would your thoughts be on that? Like, let's say, for example, they were to make. I mean, because I wouldn't see why not, especially towards the end of Battle of Gods, when Bills was like, yeah, there's more of us, and to be honest, like there are way more powerful beings out there than me, and Goku pretty much fainted. So, and especially towards the end when Whis was telling Beerus about, hey, listen, I mean, these guys can really become a threat. You ought to take things a little bit more serious and whatnot. I mean, that right there should just be a keynote to saying the series can go in any direction, especially being the fact that they have introduced Super Saiyan God, and Goku was very disappointed. I don't know if you saw the English sub, but he was just very like when Beerus asked him, he was like, I'm not satisfied.
Right.
So
Yeah,
let,
I went into that in my
yeah,
review, and a
exactly.
lot of people are like, "Well, why doesn't he use God, form all the time?" And a lot of people don't realize that going Super Saiyan God really goes against Goku's principles as a fighter. He likes
Exactly.
to do things on his own. He doesn't want to rely on everybody else.
And that's one reason why we only saw the Super Saiyan God mode very briefly, which kind of upset me because, like you said, thinking and knowing that, hey, this is a freaking God we're talking about here. He never really utilized his powers, but then again, he had absorbed it to the point where he was able to hold his own in his regular Super Saiyan form. Now, let's say, for example, Battle of Gods 2 comes out in 2016. How would that affect New Age? In terms of like, let's say Akira Toriyama introduces more gods, like I don't know, like the god of war or the god of peace or whatever. How would those characters and how would the actual movie tie in with Dragon Ball New Age? Would New Age follow up to Battle of Gods 2 as opposed to adding those characters in and whatnot? Like how would that go about?
Well, one thing I've really strived for with New Age is that I accept anything that is told by Akira Toriyama as canon. I accept that as canon. So when Battle of Gods came out, it was quickly, factored into the story. When I had first done the Elan Saga, my original origin for Majin Buu was that Bibbidi created him, but he couldn't give him the power that he wanted. So he made a deal with Elajin to give Majin Buu the power that he wanted to destroy his enemies in return for Bibbidi surrendering basically his entire family for the rest of time to Elajin. But when Akira Toriyama came out with that interview saying that Majin Buu has existed since before recorded time, almost before the original Kaioshins were thought to exist.
Right.
I refactored that into the story. I make a lot of a lot of updates to Dragon Ball, New Age, depending on if there's an error or if something really needs to update or trying to fix plot holes. So I went back and said that I didn't say that Majin Buu had existed, but when Bibidi came to Elajin, he was asking Elajin for the weapon to get, to destroy his enemies. Elajin had the perfect weapon in mind, and that was the creature that he had created eons before with a soul of undiluted rage and evil, and that was his son, Majin Buu. And he gave Majin Buu in a measure as a slave to Bibidi to destroy his enemies. So anytime anything canon comes up, like even Dragon Ball Minus, that recently came out where Gene was revealed and
Yes,
the
yes.
new origin of how Goku came to Earth, that was factored into Dragon Ball New Age in the upcoming History of Rigor special, which will be in Dragon Ball New Age Volume 1. You'll there's a lot of ties to Dragon Ball Minus and how that happened, and so anything that's ever been considered canon gets factored into the story. And if something in my story in the current draft uh, disputes the canon, then it's immediately rectified in order to, fit the canon and allow the canon to really take place in the universe.
That's awesome. I mean, that's very good to hear because, I mean, because you'll never really know what's gonna happen in the next few years. I mean, I don't know about you, but I firmly believe that Akira Toriyama, as great of a designer and as great of a mind that he has, I feel like yeah, he's getting old and
He's
he
Japanese George Lucas,
yeah,
dude.
really. I mean, but look at what George Lucas did, man. He pretty much handed and passed down the torch for Star Wars. Now, I want to know like your opinion. Where do you see Dragon Ball Z in the future? Like, let's say I don't know, a measurement of 5 to 10 years from now, and give or take the situation, wherever the case Dragon Ball is in that time frame. Where do you see Dragon Ball New Age within that same time period as well?
Um, well, to where I see Dragon Ball Z, thanks to guys, like Team Four Star, who really helped Dragon Ball's popularity spring back up. Uh, if we get new movies, we get new material. Even these periodic little shorts like Dragon Ball Minus, and as long as guys like Team Four Star are keeping everything alive, I think it's still a franchise that's still going to. It'll be, I hope it'll be around long after you and I are both gone. So in 5 years, I still see Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z being as big as it ever was. I don't lend any validity to the people's claims that there's going to be a new series anytime soon because that just doesn't seem to be the direction that they're going. They pretty much ended the series, and they're just content with coming out with these little side stories here and there.
But would you
Just
agree? Would you agree with them making a new series? Like, if you were Akira Toriyama right now, sitting down and knowing that the possibilities are just literally limitless after what you just did with Battle of Gods, especially with that ending. I mean, what would you do sitting down and knowing that it's? I mean, the popularity is growing. The franchise in and of itself is going to gain a lot of money, especially if you're a corporation. I understand that as a corporate company, all you really want is money. Eventually, that's all it boils down to. So knowing that you're able to claim those assets from the consumers, sitting down right now, would you actually consider making a new series, continuing the show? Because as for me as a fan, I don't see how that would even be a problem. Because if I was Akira Toriyama, I would do it just because I feel like it'll be a fresh start, sort of say. I mean, obviously animation has got so much better. Pixel designs and all that stuff. Graphic animation. It's gotten way better since what 17, 18 years ago since Dragon Ball ended. Um, so if you were Akira Toriyama right now, honestly, would you go on ahead and just have one more run with the series, or would you just do what he's doing now and just throw a little story here and there, and maybe a movie here and there once in a couple of years? Like how would you go about that?
Well, I mean, if you're asking me how I go about it, all you got to do is look at Dragon Ball New Age, and that's how I would go about it.
Absolutely.
But no, I really think that what they're doing now, where they're just coming out with a movie here and there, or a side story here and there, and coming out with video games with what if storylines, like with Xenoverse having Time Patrol Trunks from Dragon Ball Online and things like that. I think that kind of stuff is still what's going to carry the series because honestly, uh, besides going in and filling in the little details that we don't have from Dragon Ball Z, the little plot holes here and there or things that are unresolved, what else is there to do? I think the fans we all have a different vision of what happened after Dragon Ball GT, and for some of us, a lot of people don't even consider Dragon Ball GT, even though Akira Toriyama says, well, it's like the movies, it's a side story to the manga, so
Absolutely. A lot of people
accept it.
misconstrue that.
I hate to break it to a lot of people, but even though we don't like it, Dragon Ball Evolution happened. So whether you like it or not, it's still part of the story.
I don't know what
You
you're
know.
talking about. Dragon Ball Evolution never happened to me. I don't care, man. That was like the abomination of, dude. They were talking about demons and drag. Like, what
I
is this
understand.
garbage? But ah,
Well, get this. There is a way for everybody here, everybody listening to this podcast. There is a way for you to watch Dragon Ball Evolution and enjoy it.
oh, I don't
It
know what.
sounds hard to believe, but
What?
there is a way.
Oh,
All you guys
please,
need to do
please
is
do tell. I have to hear this.
all right. everybody listening to this, if you own a physical copy of the abomination that is DBE, you guys need to put that in a DVD player. You need to go on Team 4 Star's website, team4star.com, and download the riff track to Dragon Ball Evolution. They will give you audio clues to sync it up with the movie, and it's basically Lanny, Taka, and Kaiser delivering commentary throughout the entire movie. It makes watching the movie actually bearable hearing the guys from Team 4 Star just rip it to pieces.
Well, we're talking about from a comedical standpoint.
It is from a comedical standpoint, but they bring up like where the plot holes exist, like
Oh, that is awesome.
where Dragon Ball Evolution, his that Goku, his power is linked directly to his boner. The more erect he seems to be, the more control he has over his CGI hand fart Kamehameha.
Yeah, but
Uh,
Jesus Christ, that movie was just. And they're making supposedly, I don't know, they're making a sequel. God,
no, there
no,
is no sequel. There is no sequel.
there better not
I
be.
think Fox has lost the movie rights to it, but I'm not
Good.
sure.
I mean, it's just, man. Let me tell you, Akira Toriyama right now is he's in a very interesting position because after
Well,
the
he
state.
said he hates Dragon Ball Evolution,
Well,
so
I wouldn't blame him because I hate it too. I mean, fucking hey, dude, it was just bad. I didn't even watch it until I was forced to go see it. I was literally forced. Like my friends were like, dude, it's so bad that you have to go see it. And I was
yeah,
like, fuck. And walking out, I wanted to like Hadouken somebody like next to me. It was just so bad. But
yeah.
Akira
That's the
Toriyama
kind
is
of movie that makes you want to headbutt
no,
an
it's
infant.
so bad, man. But fuck that shit. Anyways, Akira Toriyama is in a very unique position because of the small interviews he gave about him talking about there isn't no need anymore for a Super Saiyan 3 or 2 or whatever because it takes away from certain aspects. Now, what you just said, obviously, I mean, there's a very credible way for them to continue movies. Like for example, you're saying what can they possibly do? Being that after what Biru said about there being other gods from different universes and whatnot, I
Right.
feel like that gives an opportunity for Akira Toriyama to possibly, resurrect Tarble, future Trunks, have it to where possibly you have, some other Saiyan arrive and him
Yeah.
being, a
Well,
part of, you know what I mean? It's just so it's just like,
Well, that's the thing. That's one of the reasons why I have such a big issue with a lot of fan series and it's something that I hope they stay away from in the movies because if you look at like the first Broly movie is probably the one that everybody considers the best.
yeah,
Second Coming and Bio Broly were just riding the gravy train. You can only bring back a character so many times before it's like beating a dead horse. And I really don't like fan series that just blatantly bring back other villains. I don't care if you make a character that's inspired by villains. I mean, I did it with Dragon Ball New Age. A lot of my villains are inspired by other villains, but just to bring back Broly or bring back Cell, bring back Frieza, bring back Majin Buu, bringing back all these old characters, they've had their time. Come up with something different. I want to see something different. That's what I look for. I like seeing, different fan ideas. Like Dragon Ball SQ has a God of War and he's wants to fight Beerus. He wants to
yes,
fight
yes,
God
that was
Goku.
actually fucking awesome. When I actually did, I read that a little bit. Just the fact that I forgot his master's name. The God of War was pretty much talking about, well, is there anybody out there that I can fucking fight for like entertainment purposes? Like I'm bored and then the his
Fun
master or whatever was
fact.
like, yeah, he was
Fun
like,
fact, I helped name that God of War.
that's the fact. It's just like his little protege was like, well, there is this purple cat that's sleeping right now. And then he was like, yeah, he's the god of destruction. He was like, oh, the purple cat. And then they fought. It was crazy. But that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like for those of you out there that don't really know what Dragon Ball New Age is, it's the continuation and just the resurrection of something that we as fans have been looking for in terms of creativity, in terms of something fresh. I kept telling you that because I, as a fan, love your ideas because it's fresh. I mean, yeah, I don't have anything against bringing back an old character per se, only if it fits with the correlation. Like, let's say, for example, what if they bring back, I don't know, Kid Buu or Super Buu, right? And you have him, not really fight, but get beat down to the point where he knows he's desperate, possibly absorb one of the characters. Like, let's say, for example, in Dragon Ball New Age, Buu came back and he gets his ass kicked very easily by everybody, and he's like, shit, what do I do? knowing that it's desperation time, what if like Super Buu fused with like Rigor or Super Saiyan 4 or whoever the fuck, like that would give him a new character because now you have Super Buu Rigor absorbed or Super Buu Super Saiyan 4 whatever, and it'll be an interesting concept. Having him to embody the characteristics and the overall power level. I mean, like just thinking about what would happen if Rigor succumbed to an absorption technique. That would be crazy. I mean, you have Super Buu Rigor absorbed battling, I don't know, let's say Super Saiyan 5 Goku or something. It's fresh, it's new, it's kind of gets you thinking like, wow, and that's what I really like about Rigor because when I saw him fight Gogeta, I was just like, all right, Gogeta's gonna win. It looks like it, right? It was a back and forth thing. And eventually, towards the end, I was like, all right, Gogeta's gonna cave because he has like what, like 5 seconds or like 5 minutes until his fusion's over. Boom, he hits him with the attack only because Rigor, his power level was drained. And then right then and there, I was like, oh, okay, the fight's over. That was a pretty cool fight. But the next thing you know, lo and behold, Rigger's walking out of this giant canyon, bloodied up, scarred up, and I'm like, wow, the dude fucking lived. How many times have I seen a character that took a 100% full on attack like that and just survive? I mean, some people might debate that and say, oh, well, Frieza survived the Spirit Bomb or whatever, but that was something that just drew me in instantly because I was like, wow, if that dude, and then it's not like everybody fought after that. It's like everybody collapsed because of just exhaustion, and I was like, this is fucking gold. And now I'm really curious to see how the Elijah story is going to go because if he's the father of this maniac Majin Buu, I want to see how his characteristics play a role in terms of jumping from body to body. And eventually, I mean, I'm hoping to see him fight in his final form, in his true form, against everybody else, which would be very interesting because I want to know if is there a chance that he might bump into Rigger, or if he's gonna bump into somebody else that's gonna give him a credible, battle and stuff like that.
Well, the Elijah Saga is going to be really. A lot of people are actually they really like the Elijah Saga. I mean, it is being kind of drawn out right now, but that's because of pacing. But a lot of people like the Elijah Saga because I've taken Goku and Vegeta out of the story. Elijah has beaten Vegeta and now has his body, and he beat Goku, and Goku's taken out of the fight. Now the only two people left because Oob and Goten were killed by Rigger. The only two people left to defend the Earth are Gohan and Trunks. So now you've got the two main powerhouses of Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball universe is Goku and Vegeta. They're out of the fight, and now you have no chance for Super Saiyan God because you don't have enough Saiyans. Now it's up to the two sons, the prodigal firstborn sons, to live up to their father's legacy, and that's what I'm doing with Dragon Ball New Age. And eventually, it'll get to the point, this is something that's going to happen. I won't tell people when, but Goku and Vegeta will soon be out of the story, and it will only be the next generation. There won't be Goku and Vegeta there to save the day all the time. It'll be up to that new generation, like it was always supposed to be.
And that's a very interesting stuff. That actually reminds me a little bit of the ending of GT, especially having juniors, fighting in the tournament division, having Goku and Vegeta Junior. I mean, knowing the fact that their grandfathers are long and gone. I mean, and those two are very interesting characters because Vegeta wasn't really the Vegeta that you thought he would be. He was like more like that cocky little conniving, dickhead. It was just like, yeah, he was like, oh, you can go blonde too, fucking. But what I wanted to ask you was, by any chance, is there any possible action figures? Maybe yes, no.
Is there any what?
Like, are you gonna have any action figures for like Rigger or whatever? Like, are you planning on introducing possible like figures or?
Well, right now the only thing we have planned for like merchandise is at conventions we're going to have posters for Dragon Ball New Age, and of course the printed editions, Volume One, which is going to have the first part of the history of Rigger Saga, which won't be available until after July. Uh, so we have that. People have approached me about wanting to do sculpties of characters before. People are doing whole game mods. Somebody wanted to take Budokai 3 and completely mod it into Dragon Ball New Age Ultimate Budokai.
Which I'm willing to play any day of the week if that shit was made. But go on.
And then the ZEQ 2 Lite, Zeke 2 Lite or whatever that game is, that Dragon Ball mod project.
Yeah.
People make rigor and characters from Dragon Ball New Age in that a lot. I see them getting posted around YouTube all the time. And one person who's an independent gamer, they actually saw a journal that I did of what I would consider to be my ultimate Dragon Ball, fan game for Dragon Ball New Age, which I called Dragon Ball New Age Ultimate Budokai, and said that they wanted to start programming it as I dreamed it. It would have the story mode the way I wanted, and the create a character the way I wanted it, and stuff like that. And they said it would take a long time, but they would try to make it happen. And uh, the voice actors that I had for my Dragon Ball New Age animations, like Masako X from Team Four Star, who's the voice of Goku in the minisodes, he would be the voice of Goku. Jamie Norwood, who voices Rigger, would be in there. Jamie Robertson, who voices Vegeta, he would be the Vegeta in there. Things like that. So there are little things picking up here and there. As far as I could tell you, are there plans for action figures and stuff like that? I currently don't have the resources, but fans do that kind of stuff all the time. And I'm sure, if somebody really, really wanted a Super Saiyan 5 sculpty of Rigor, I'm sure they could find somebody who makes one and could get them to do it.
I mean, like I'm telling you, man. Personally, I just want to say thank you for just reintroducing this because, uh, I mean, I pretty much read them all online. I read every fanfic I think there is. Most of them, relatively decent. Some of them really good. Some of them not so good. But this one really caught my eye, and I just wanted to say thank you for just not only dishing out your time, but just having the creative aspect to where you're doing things differently, but at the same time it matches with the actual, canon material. And I think I told you this so many times. Dragon Ball New Age can go milestones, and like I said, guys, it is up to you. I mean, of course, a lot of you guys watching this may not agree with Dragon Ball New Age, but I'm one to agree with it because I like it. And just because I like something does not mean that you guys have to. But if you guys are Dragon Ball Z fans, I really, really think that you guys ought to just check this out because I'm telling you, it has something special going on. I think the only two series that I can say that really have something special going on is Dragon Ball New Age and Dragon Ball Multiverse. So once again, Malik, thank you for taking your time to be here. Thank you for taking your time to make this. Hopefully later on down the road, like you probably turn into like the next Akira and you keep doing this, but one can only hope.
I can
So
only
thank
hope.
you. So thank you. And for those of you out there watching this, check out Malik. The links will be in the description below for his Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Please like him on Facebook as well. I've noticed that a lot of you guys have done that, so thank you all for that. But once again, Malik, thank you for your time, and thank you all for watching, everybody. As always, if you guys are Dragon Ball New Age fans, DBZ fans as a whole, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for all latest news, information, and updates, along with Malik as well. Like the video if you guys agree with Dragon Ball New Age, because I definitely would. So thank you once again, Malik. Any final words before we go?
Uh, I just want to say to everybody who, looks at Dragon Ball New Age and has a little bit of doubt in their mind, uh, just give it a little bit of a chance. Read the first few chapters or anything. When Masako first found Dragon Ball New Age through a random Google search, he read the first chapter, and before he knew it, he'd been sitting there for an hour and a half and read 14 chapters. I tried. I made my series with nothing but respect for the original material and for the story that we all grew up with and that we all loved. And I tried to make something for everybody, and that's something that everybody could enjoy. So just look at it with an open mind and an open heart, and hopefully you'll find something that you really enjoy. And uh, Alex, I just really wanted to say thank you for everything you did to promote Dragon Ball New Age, all the reviews, posting stuff on Instagram, on your Facebook, all that kind of stuff, because you helped the community grow. I've gotten so many new readers and so many people coming to me saying that they loved Dragon Ball New Age, and that I have you to thank for that. And I even when I did the special thanks page for Volume One, I mentioned you in there. I really appreciate everything you did for my series and helping me expand out to new people. And I just want anybody listening to this video, become one of the thousands of people. I'm read in over 131 countries right now. We're translated into 10 different languages, and we're only going up from here. I branched out. I'm doing things with Team Four Star. I'm even doing things with Dragon Ball Multiverse. I've just expanded into a lot of different things because you, the fans, made everything possible. So just continue to make it possible. Continue to help my series grow, and I'll continue to do my utmost to make a story that will fulfill what I believe is might have been Akira Toriyama's vision for the post GT Dragon Ball story.
And just in case you guys have been wondering, I mean, hey, what will Akira Toriyama do next? We have Malik. He's like the Akira Toriyama of like independent artwork right now, and I just want to say thank you. And like I said, guys, Chapter 1 will be reviewed very soon, along with Chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever chapters there are. It will be reviewed. Once again, Malik, thank you. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all check out Malik, everybody. Long live Vegeta along with the planet. So thank you all for watching, everybody. I hope you all take care. We'll be seeing you all later, guys. Peace.